Hi, Lester. I can see your raised hand. Just give me 1 sec. I'll start it and we'll start the session. Pradyuman raised your hand. Okay. Lots of people are raising hands. We haven't begun yet, guys. Wow, so many of you. Great. Okay. Let's begin. So all of you are here to get how to build a career as a corporate lawyer. Brilliant. So let's get on with that. Okay, so the first thing, so many of you would want, or let's think of this. The first thing that we can talk about or we can bring on is what exactly do you think is covered within corporate law? Because it's a very wide term. Now we've heard it being spoken generally by everybody saying corporate law, corporate lawyer, but what exactly does it undertake? Can I have few responses from people? Can I have few responses from people? All budding corporate lawyers, come on. Something. Name something. What do you think? What do you think gets included in the term corporate law? It's quite broad. Lester is wishing good evening. Good evening. M&A, okay. Sundaram is saying M&A. What else gets included in corporate law? Mergers and acquisitions, everyone is saying. All statutory laws applicable to an Indian corporate, that's like everything. Business law. No, you can't say all statutory laws because that will include everything that's applicable. Aditi. Banking and insolvency, yeah, but it tends to be usually into a different bracket. Okay, and it's applicable to a specific sector. Venture capital, yeah. So investment, sure, investment can become applicable. Project finance can become applicable where the companies are relating to infrastructure or manufacturing specific type, but nevertheless, yes, it can be applicable. ADR is litigation, is not corporate law. When will we receive an e-certificate for attending the webinar? Yes, but read the terms and conditions for that. Capital markets, yes. Okay, now I have a good summation here from Aditi. Aditi is saying, Companies Act, labor laws, depending upon the type, SEBI, RBI, FEMA. Okay, there are a few laws which will apply in general to most corporates or companies. Okay, so irrespective of the sector, it can apply. Like irrespective of the industry or the business sector, it can apply. Okay, and we have that summed up, and we can kind of come to what exactly would you want to start gaining traits in or skills in. Okay, so we will focus largely on some of the traits, okay, or some of the essential things that you need to gain. Okay, it's not really skills, but some part of the traits that you need to gain if you really want to progress through a career of corporate law. Okay, so we'll have a look at that. Dealing with company law and fraud transactions. Fraud is a very specific thing, but yeah, it can vary. Lots of things can vary depending upon the business structure, but there are few things that more or less every company will deal with. Okay, and we can have a look at that. Give me a sec. I will just screen share and get on to a site. Some people are saying intellectual property, private equity, all of that is covered within the investment realm. Private equity is covered within the investment realm. Intellectual property is a separate area in itself when you're looking for it. But yeah, it can also intersect with corporate law. It can also have to deal with corporates. DRT, not really. It will get into litigation, Aditya. So let's look at the different areas. Wow. How can I build a career as a corporate lawyer? Let's quickly progress on that. There's still more responses coming. Great, guys. Mergers and acquisitions, investment law. Yeah, all of that is covered. Private equity, venture capital, all of that you will cover within the broad gamut of investment law. Funds formation, yes, will apply to industries which are specific. Okay, so let's get into this. That's slide 2. Wow. Yeah, so you must have at least a basic understanding of these laws and like important concepts in each of these. Okay, so these are the ones that can apply to the companies irrespective of their sector. Okay, so when you're looking at sector specific, like real estate can become sector specific. Things like banking and finance can become sector specific. Okay, so if you're looking at sector specific, if you are looking at some things which will apply irrespective of sectors, okay, so it may be in a manufacturing sector, it may be like a technology company, it may be a company which is in real estate, it may be a company which is in some other trading, let's say trading business. But these laws can apply based upon the transactions that it enters into. It will not be specific to sector, okay, the industry sector or business sector, okay. It will apply depending upon what transactions they enter into. Lots of people are still contributing, lovely. Media and entertainment sector, yeah, so that's also an additional sector that you can look. So is there any specific definition of corporate law? No, there is no specific definition of corporate law. But like I said, largely, this is based on, your formation and transactions. Okay, so your form of business and your transactions. Okay, because these things will remain the same across all kinds of sectors. Okay, irrespective of whether a company is an insurance company or a banking company or a real estate company, nevertheless, it is a company, and so company law will apply, right? Irrespective of someone who has taken an FDI or taken an ECB in any sector, in any industry sector, foreign exchange management laws will apply. Okay, similarly, when you talk of companies, I missed in putting certain things like LLPs. Okay, so laws relating to LLP, the Limited Liability Partnerships Act, and many entities or many businesses actually choose to begin with that. Okay, so normally when you say corporate, you will associate it with a company law. So it needs to be a company, and that's what you understand by corporate. But I can tell you that LLP or limited liability partnerships are also bodies corporate, right? They have their own existence. They can sign their own contracts. And although company law is very, very well settled, people have been doing that, working in that area since ages, right? The LLP Act, Limited Liability Partnership, or what LLPs can do, cannot do, how are they supposed to be formed, okay, or how do you frame your LLP agreement? These kinds of things have not been there since ages, because it only came into existence in 2008. 12 years still, but not like Companies Act, which has been since 50 years, okay, more than 50 years. I'm Pranav Sethi. I'm really excited for this webinar. People are putting the LinkedIn. Very good. You've learned that. So good. Share your LinkedIn IDs. That's not a problem. Okay. Please enlighten the role of international tax law in corporate law. Look, tax law for that matter is an allied area. I will put it that way. Okay. So it is very much an allied area for corporate law, but I wouldn't really bracket it within, because tax law has its own separate realm, its own separate practice. Okay. Intellectual property law similarly has its own separate practice. Okay. Like it is a substantial area of law in its own. Like you would not face companies, like certain companies will have certain types of taxes. Some other companies will have other types of taxes. So you can't bracket that all kinds of taxes will apply to all kinds of companies. It will be different depending upon what is the business they are into. Okay. Similarly, IP. Some businesses can have IP as very dominant. Some sectors will have, like, really dominant intellectual property issues. Okay, like technology. Okay, it will have very dominant intellectual property related issues. Um, Certain online businesses where content is very, very material, you will have dominant issues. Okay, companies which have been there since ages looking to protect their intellectual property, dominant IP issues. Okay, but it will not be so dominant, for example, in certain other companies which are normal medium sized trading companies. Okay, and which have not yet developed into a brand or something like that. So it will not apply across the board to all kinds of sectors. Somewhere it will apply in a very dominant kind of manner, somewhere it will not be so important. Same for tax laws. Some companies will have very a lot of relevance. Even international tax, someone mentioned, international tax will be very relevant where you have uh, transactions which are, with either a holding company or somewhere, you have transactions like that. Then it will become relevant. Like, you will have to consider whether the transfer pricing regulations are applicable, whether the price that was worked out was arm's length, things like that. Wherever you have dealings like that, okay, or where you have permanent establishments abroad, some another company has permanent establishment here. In those situations, international tax, not in all cases. Okay, but FDI, people will think that, FDI or foreign exchange management laws are, in fact, I'm bracketing that because even in FEMA, the large part of it is FDI. Okay, and that can be in even really small or medium sized companies. You can find FDI transactions. Okay, so therefore, like, this can apply across the board in a lot of different sectors, even where you don't have dominant foreign operations, or foreign companies don't have dominant operations here. Just an investment can also be captured within, this realm of FDI. Okay, so therefore, like, you hear of, lots of investors which put money, the investors who are abroad which put money into the companies here. Now if you look at the formation of these companies, these are private limited companies, they are not even listed. Like Byju's, Paytm, Flipkart, Snapdeal, these are private companies, they are not listed companies. Okay, they are not listed on the stock exchange, but they have foreign investment into them. They themselves don't have subsidiaries abroad or massive foreign operations, or, the foreign company which is investing as massive Indian operations. That's not the case, but the investment is nevertheless there. So even in that case, your foreign exchange management laws gets applicable. Okay, so these are some things which can be like generalized in across the board in sectors. Competition, although generalized across the board in sectors, becomes niche because it is relevant only above a particular size of business. Okay, so it becomes really like when there are entities which are mammoth enough to impact the whole market or shake the whole market by their movements. That's when you get into competition law. It doesn't matter which sector they are in, but nevertheless, it's a size. So despite it being applicable across the board, across various sectors, still because of the size, it becomes a little bit niche. Okay, and then underlying contract drafting in everything that you go, like, this will apply everywhere. This will not be visible. Contract drafting will not be a really visible thing, or, so much of a relevant thing for litigators, and I will come to why. Okay, people are still sharing their LinkedIn. Guys, let's focus on this now for the minute. Okay, we will share LinkedIn profiles later. Why don't you guys, some of you, go and form up a LawSikho webinar group on LinkedIn and join and connect with each other, invite people. Okay, but here let's look at this. So underlying contract drafting and everything, and contract drafting will not be so relevant for litigators. Okay, it will be very, very relevant for the corporate lawyers, because corporate lawyers will be strategizing, framing, structuring the transactions. They will design the transactions. Okay, they will design how many shares or debentures or preference shares or hybrid securities need to be offered. Okay, they will design what's supposed to be the valuation. They will design what part of should be in one tranche, what should be in another, like that. They will design the transaction. Okay, that is why contract drafting will be very, very relevant for corporate lawyers. For litigators, what will be relevant will come to the next slide. Okay, lots of people have asked a question here. Does LawSikho have a contract drafting course? Yes, we do. Is doing your LLM abroad. Guys, don't divert the track of the whole thing. Don't divert the track. You know, you will not gain you will not gain anything. It will go into a very different area. And, let's focus on what is the topic that we have here. Okay. So like I was saying, coming back, it has to be underlying contract drafting in everything. And it's relevant far more for corporate lawyers as compared to litigators, because what will happen to litigators here? Litigators will start at disputes, which can arise only after the transaction is initiated. Okay, there's already a commercial relationship started, initiated, ongoing. That's when you will have litigation. That's when you will have disputes. Okay, but corporate lawyers are the one who advise on the transactions themselves, like I said. So they will be the ones who structure and strategize the transactions. Litigators will start at the dispute. So in a litigation practice, contract drafting will not be so much of a relevance as a contract review. Okay, not to say that litigators don't need to learn contracts, but then that's where they will be looking to poke holes. Okay, because they have to look at when they're representing one side on a transaction, they have to look at what's favorable in the contract for that side and what's unfavorable in the contract for their side. That's the view with which they are looking at it. Okay, while the corporate lawyers will be the ones who are framing it. Okay. Yeah, what are the questions that we have? Confused whether I should go for contract drafting or investment or banking law. Mergers, acquisitions course. Pranav, we can talk of this later. Okay, we can talk about this later. We'll talk. Okay, we'll discuss. You can call me. I will, you can reach out to me. You can call me. I'll put in my LinkedIn ID here for everyone. If you want, you can reach out to me. Plus, if you get into the WhatsApp group for the course, then, I am there in that group also. So you can reach. So lots of people have questions relating to disputes and litigation. Okay, so let me tell you this, the later part of December, okay, after 16th is going to be dedicated to litigation and disputes. Okay, and Ramanuj is also going to do a webinar exactly on this. So I'm not going to go into this in detail, but Ramanuj is going to discuss this, whether corporate, it's better to become a corporate lawyer or it's better to become a litigator. My view is neither is better or worse, because you have to look at what are the traits you possess. You have to look at what gives you the thrill. Okay, do you get the thrill by standing in front of a judge and really bouncing off arguments? You get a thrill like that. You get a thrill out of framing a really 𝗲𝗃 contract. Okay, what do you get thrill out of? What is your passion? That's where you're going to perform. So you can't say something is better and something is worse. It will be different for different people. Okay, you have to look at what works for you. Yeah, Pranav, we will talk about it. There are lots of people who are still confused on the CS. Guys, get into the WhatsApp group. You can tag me. I'm right there and you can ask questions. Okay, we will deal with that. But in here, let's not distract the whole sequence of the webinar, because people are out here. People are here to get something out of this in this specific topic. Okay, so let's not turn it into an entirely different direction. It will not give any value for anybody then. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Okay. I am available to you in the WhatsApp group. When you join, I'm right there on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me anywhere. Okay. Okay. So let's move to the next one. So like I said, I'm not going to go into which one is better because Ramanuj is going to deal with this topic in detail. Plus the later part of December, we're going to focus on litigation and disputes. So we will talk about that part or that side then. Okay. And there'll be lots of useful topics in this area as well. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's move to the next one. Now, this is something which will be relevant for you. Now, if you're beginning, we're talking about building a career step by step. Okay. So what should we do at different stages in the career, okay, to ace that part of it? That's what we're going to talk about now. Okay. Does this seem good? Okay. Does this seem exciting? Okay. Is this something you really want to know? Is this what you want to know? That what should you do at each stage really to ace it? Say yes. Say yes in the chat. Say yes in the chat. You want to know? Brilliant. Everyone wants to know. Okay, so let's look at what are the traits we get, okay? After graduation also, we'll go through all different stages. We'll go through all different stages. We're going to talk about when you're a student. We're going to talk about when you've graduated and you're in a gap, but you're still not in employment in practice. Okay, you are in a gap period. What should you do in the gap period? And then we'll also talk about what should you do when you already got a job. Okay. See, if you, the chances are, if you are done all of this in your student, you will not have a lot of gap period. I'm telling you this. If you've done this, like, if you've done all of this in your student duration, you will not have much of a gap period. Okay, so let's look at that. What's it? Read with a different intention. Okay, why do we read in our law college? Why do we read things in a law college? To pass exams. That's why we read. That's what the focus is. Okay. To form a perspective. Wow. To get a good grade, to learn, to interpret. Okay, very good. Okay. To get a good grade. But largely to get a good grade. Okay, and largely to learn. Okay, this is the crux of it. That's why we read. Okay, to learn. This is what Ayushman has got it, to understand how to apply. Guys, read it with that sense. Okay, so when you're reading, somewhere between the lines, there should be lots of questions buzzing in your head. Okay, lots of questions buzzing in your head. And when that happens, you will actually look out for the answers for that. Okay, because in your college duration or anywhere, wherever you are doing something that's a professional course or wherever, whatever you are reading, when you're reading, don't read with the intention of, working on a specific assignment or a project that you have, working on, like, or getting good grades or just learning. Read with the intention that if you are in this position, if you have to use this or apply this, then how are you going to do that? Okay, because that will put in lot of questions in your brain. Okay, one way to do it. For example, just let's assume that you're reading FEMA. Okay, and you are reading the FDI policy, and you're reading about eligible investee companies, eligible investing companies, investor companies, entities. You're going to read with that. Now, in your mind, if you frame up a question, let's assume I want to start a company right here in my town where I am, which is going to take FDI. Okay, and I have to do it. I'm the businessman. Okay, put yourself in that shoes. I'm the businessman. I have to start it. I want to do it. How am I going to go about it? Okay, now this law says that eligible investor is this, eligible investee is this. Am I an eligible investee? By the way, if it is this business, you're going to look through the FDI policy and search and try to find out the answer. And that's how you deal with, the curiosity. Okay, like you have read, there'll be people who, I mean, I'm looking at a laptop here. It's a laptop. I'm using it for my work. But someone else will look at it in a completely different manner. Okay. And their question, the question inside the brain is, how does this work? Okay. How does this keypad work? Okay. What is inside this machine? Okay. What should you change to make it? Because that's the way they look at it. Okay. So when you look at law like that, with a dissection view, with a view, a mechanical engineer kind of view, okay, that how are you going to, what's inside this? What's the logic behind this? I had one sort of actually like, doing this analysis, the logic behind all the laws. Because once you come to know that, you will know the next provisions automatically. Because you know that that's the logic with which this law has been framed. Okay, so you're going to know, you will, in your mind, you will know that there must be some restriction like this. Even if you don't know any of the sections, you will have a hindsight that because this law has been brought into place to do this, there must be some section or some provision which stops this or enables this. Okay, so you read with a very different intention. When you read with a mechanical engineer kind of intention, you will get a lot of things out of it. Curiosity will like, kick in, and you will try to locate answers. And that's what will stay in your head forever. That will stay. That's the kind of thing that will stay. You read it to learn, to pass the grades. You're going to forget it. Okay. Now, distinguish yourself as a student. How? By topping the class? Well, sure, that's one way to do it. You by topping the class. We had someone, and this is very curious to know, like we had one person who would venture to answer all questions in the class. Okay, he will venture to answer all questions in the class, whether he knew it or he didn't know it. And his way of doing it was, he will raise his hand and he will begin with, I may be wrong. Okay, he will begin with, I may be wrong, but this is what I think. Okay, and later part of the things, he began to be known as a disclaimer clause. Like, people used to call him disclaimer clause. But what happened because of that is like, it was very clear and apparent to the people who were teaching that he's trying to apply his brain to that situation. He's giving his inputs. Okay, he's using and he's applying whatever is going on to that situation. Although he may be putting a disclaimer clause with everything, that's okay. But he distinguished himself as a student. Okay, and then what happened was one of the people leading the session, he did this at his session also, and this guy was an advising consultant on some government company, and he took him, like he got he recommended this guy because he was very fascinated by what this person applied his mind to and how he thought. So you distinguish yourself as a student from the whole lot of crowd that you have. Some way you're going to get a benefit out of it, right? We have lots of chat and questions. What is that? Request everyone to send message through panelists and attendees. Let everyone see the views. Please, please let's like have a span when we will have questions, or we will have we will have our views, because otherwise what will happen is throughout the webinar, we're going to be distracting the things. Okay. So distinguish yourself as a student. Any more questions on this? Yeah, Lester, thank you. Find which internships are likely to give you good exposure. This is very relevant, okay, because you don't want to take up everything that doesn't add into your work or your career somewhere. I know it's very difficult to come by. I know it can be very difficult for you to choose most of the time. We don't get to choose because there'll be many people who apply for that internship, and there will be many people who are going to be selected for what we also want to take. Now everybody wants an internship with CAM, everybody wants an internship with Trilegal, okay, everybody wants an internship with Luthra. So that's not, you find a place which is likely to give you a really good exposure, okay, where you have boutique firms or niche firms which are going to give you an exposure in the area where you have really set your heart to. Okay, it may be even independent practitioners, okay, which will give you exposure, really good exposure to where you have set your heart to. It may be even chartered accountants somewhere, it may be company secretaries. You have to find a area which will give you good exposure. What is the work they are doing and what is the work that you are likely to get? Okay, so you and prefer kind of long-term internships. This is, I think, said often. Prefer long-term internships in such places where you are getting good work to do. Okay, and let the work be thrown at you, don't worry about that. Okay, in the first few weeks or something, you will be completely like you will be overwhelmed with everything and you may not know and you will struggle. But if that is happening, if you are struggling, you know how to do the work. It is so much of things like that, and it's not like, you know, where you want to apply your mind. It's actually a good sign. Okay, because what means it means that you're going to go out of your comfort zone if you're uncomfortable. Okay, it will make you think, it will make you do work which you have not done until now. That's why you're feeling uncomfortable. Okay, and in some time it will, you will become very familiar with that. Finding a good boss is necessary in early days. This will help us getting nurtured, but getting good boss is very difficult because you can't really find out people who are going to do that. Firms aren't taking internships, no problem. Look at independent lawyers who are going to do the work. Okay, but you have to find out who is doing this work in that area. It may not be a very well-known person. See, understand this. It may not be a very well-known person. But if they're giving the work, if they're throwing the work at you, which you want to grab and learn with both your hands, then that's where you should go and you should give long-term internships to that. Okay. So if you look at like smaller firms, mid-tier firms, independent practitioners, work, like I was told, in fact, by someone, when I started out, okay, when I started out and graduated, the things had just changed from FERA to FEMA. Okay, when I graduated, it was the FEMA had just been brought into effect, and I was very much into it. And I was actually given an advice that people who are working in the FEMA area, just why don't you, it's okay to not get any salary at the moment. Just go and talk to them, approach them and tell them that, you know, you're gonna work there. And I actually went, like, you know, I actually went and approached the chartered accountant. Okay. And I saw his YouTube videos and I just like, you know, I went to him and I told him, okay, this is not at that time, this is a little bit later, but yeah, I went out to him and I told him that I've seen your YouTube videos and I find, like, you know, really good content in them. You have a you from the way you speak, you have a really good knowledge about FEMA and everything. I just directly wrote an email to him. Okay, and then this guy, the response that I get is, I'm really impressed by your direct approach, because no one is doing that. Okay, people will do that only at a point of time when there is a vacancy or something like that. But you're following independent practitioners in that area, for that area which you are really keen on. Okay, you go on and you approach them directly. What will happen at best? They'll say no. Okay, but you don't go and tell them that give me internship. That's not how you do that. Okay, you're going to talk to them that, you know, like you really want to learn, because you have seen something and you want to learn from them. So how do you go about that? You know, and that's where you will make a mark. You just don't go and bog them and say that I want an internship with you. That's not how it will work. Okay, or I want to get an internship with a firm. That's not how it will work. Okay. Moving to the next one. I think I might have. Yeah. Develop an updating system. Very, very essential, especially for the area where you are interning. Okay. What is an updating system? What's an updating system? You want to be aware not only of the changes in law, but also of the changes that happen where you are, where you which are the industry related changes. Okay, it may not necessarily be legal changes. It can be industry related changes that happen in the area where you are interning also. Okay, for example, let's assume you are interning with a financial intermediary, let's say a large broking firm or a broking company. Okay, and very recently you find that there were some changes to the margin requirements that are done by SEBI. Okay, that aside, you can find that there was one case which led to a huge penalty. Okay, now there were no changes in law, but something happened where one of the brokers was really fined a huge penalty. Okay, or something happened where, you know, some of the brokers changed a different way, a different manner of working. Okay, so things like that, you know, you keep on the lookout for what, how to, like, you know, keep abreast of the area where you are interning. And there are lots of methods to do this. Okay, we used to have pink papers. Now again with the COVID, even physical papers are banned completely. So you have to look at really good news bulletins which are going to be delivered right into your mailbox. Okay, you want something coming every day mandatorily into your mailbox at a particular time, and you frame a system that this is the period, this half an hour or 40 minutes or 45 minutes is what I am going to dedicate to read about the industry changes, to read about the updates in law. And you don't have to go and research about that, because you set up a Google alert or you subscribe to a bulletin which is coming directly into your mailbox. Okay, so and you're going to file all of that into a separate folder. Okay, so every day when you come at that time, when you're looking at that time, let's say in the morning somewhere with a cup of tea, that's when you are reading that. Whenever you're like, you know, you can absorb reading very well. At that time you are reading the updates, at that time you are reading the industry changes. Okay, ideally keep it in the morning. I know there will be loads of people who will be like night owls. Okay, and they are not they are more alert at night, but ideally do this in the morning, because, you know, you don't know, something in your workday may need this increased knowledge. Okay, and if you can show that you had read it just that morning, okay, it will be a fantastic impression to create. Okay, wherever you are interning. So you develop an updating system, especially for the area where you are interning. This is very relevant, particularly for the likes of corporate law, because one law, change in one law can have implication and is connected to another. Okay, in corporate laws, it will be like very interconnected, allied to one another. Okay, if I give you an example of 𝗲𝗲 itself, let's say, like, you know, 𝗲𝗲 will give a particular period of time within which the allotment has to be made for the shares. But then there is a similar requirement in the Companies Act to do that. Okay, if you had a different requirement in 𝗲𝗲 and you had a different requirement in the Companies Act, you're going to have to follow the stricter one, because both of them are equally applicable to you. Okay, so you have to keep in mind all of this, that the same transaction can attract multiple laws as far as corporate law is concerned. Okay, so therefore you have to develop an updating system for wherever you are interning. 110% you should do that. Okay, if you're assuming in a securities firm, for instance, you have to have an update that talks about SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, a Google alert setting Securities and Exchange Board of India, a Google alert setting Securities Appellate Tribunal, a Google alert setting takeover code, a Google alert talking about insider trading. These are very relevant, so you must have that updating system in place. And you're going to see, like, you know, because of that updating system, you're going to see everything at one place in your inbox. Okay, so you don't have to go and research every day on Google for that. Okay, very relevant. There are newspapers which are written very beautifully, and they, like, you know, also talk about business. I personally read a newspaper that's called the Ken. It is written, I read it for the beauty or the really great way in which it is written. You know, you read things like this on a daily basis, your writing is going to go to the next level. Try out things hands on. I actually did this. Okay, and I have to say that it worked brilliantly for me. Okay, because let's see, we were being taught we were being taught something that's called the director's report. In college, like in commerce, we were being taught about companies. And what I did is I actually went on, got four of my friends and created a memorandum and articles of association by myself. Okay. And we gave, like, it the name of Friends Private Limited. Okay. Many years later, some director had the same view and he did some movie with Shahid Kapoor saying like Friends and Company where they're doing all sorts of things. But like I did this, okay, I actually, when I learned that, okay, and then I was like, okay, let's create it. Okay. And I got my friends to subscribe and, take shares in that, all of that things. Okay. So you try out the things hands on. And I can tell you there are loads of things for you to try out your hands on. Okay. Like your parents, your relatives are going to be having investment in shares. Okay. Your people around you in your family are going to have contracts. They are going to have companies. They're going to have business entities. Talk about that things with interest. So you find those things out, hang out in that group sometimes. I know like parents, relatives can sometimes become boring, but hang out for these purposes, okay? So you will find out a lot of different things that they're doing. Real estate students, like, in our courses, I tell them that you will definitely find someone in your family who has signed a lease or a leave-in license or a rental agreement somewhere. Why don't you like ask them that, just give me a copy, I'll review it for you for free. Sale deed, people will have brought properties. Say, I'll review it for free, I'll have a look at it. You'll get a lot of things out of that. So try out things hands on. Okay. I in my college days, dematerialization was set in while I was in my college days. And I actually took all the physical shares of my parents and got them dematerialized. So you try out things, you will come to know a lot of things. You will find that. You will find transactions. It's very much there. Okay. Definitely take up writing. And this may not necessarily be related only to laws. Okay. As far as it is laws, very good. Like, you are writing about legal issues, legal topics, you're writing about your opinions, very good. But if you have a habit of writing even otherwise, okay, which is not really law, which is not really legal, like I hear some websites force you to write 1000 words every day on something, not necessarily on legal topics. 1000 words every day, mandatorily. Okay. So you develop and, like, take up writing like that. Okay. You're writing on things. You will grow. I know of a company secretary who started a blog ages back, like, where blogging was very much in the beginning. Now at that time, he struggled with like language and all of that. There were issues like language issues. There were serious language issues. But he didn't give up. He kept it. And after that, like, long period of time, there were things like, his blog started ranking. So, you definitely you take up writing and you develop a habit. Okay, find out these websites, find out, and if not, like create your own folder or document where you are writing 1000 words every day. Okay, like how you do certain push-ups every day, how you do certain crunches every day at the gym. Same way, write 1000 words every day, flex your writing muscles. If you find competitions and moods, take this up. Don't shy away from this. Okay, it will be uncomfortable. How am I going to do this? I have never done this before. The more uncomfortable things you pick up, the more your comfort zone will be widened. Okay, you will be out and you will be like, you will start not to face fear in so many different things. When I started with LawSikho, I was like, I was very much into writing and all of that, not so keen on the outreach part. Like many lawyers are not keen on the outreach part. And then one of the days, I just decided to ditch my comfort zone and I got into an auto and I went out and talked to random people completely. Okay, completely unknown people. Okay, and it took me to the next level. Okay, because now, like, I wasn't, after that, I wasn't comfortable to anybody on, uncomfortable to speaking to anybody on earth. So do the things which, you actually find discomfort in, where you are not comfortable. And when you do that, your comfort zone is widened to that extent. Okay, so there are more things now, a wider array of things that you can do. So competitions and moods, take it. I remember writing even for really silly newspaper competitions, in the sense that they would give you even an HR related problem, or like, a typical personality related problem or things like that. And they will invite solutions to that. I will submit even for that. Okay, because it's just like, it's just a way of applying your mind to that and of developing your expression in writing. So you find competitions and moods, you take it up, like you do that. Sign up for these. Sign up for competitions. Follow your heroes and mentors on social media. We had no opportunity like this. Okay, I grew up in Ahmedabad. There were some people whom I absolutely adored in the legal field. At that time, they were really heroes. Okay, so like amalgamation used to be done by the High Court at that time, and there was one of the lawyers. His name was 𝗁𝗂𝗶𝗏𝗏, who was at that time like, a hero as far as amalgamation is concerned. I wanted to know what he does. I wanted to find out. There was nothing like social media to connect with. You are in a much better state. You can directly write, like, and you can directly reach out to anybody whom you really believe you should follow. You can reach out to them, you can follow them, you can know what they are doing, which are the deals they recently undertook. Okay, all of these things you can find out. I'm not saying stalk people, okay, but follow them. Okay, and be interested to find out what is the work that they're doing. That's it. Okay, you're not going to stalk them, and you're not going to get into their personal stuff. Okay, people have questions here. What is your take on doing a master's degree? Do you think a master's degree is worthwhile? Okay, someone is from Ahmedabad as well. Okay, great, good to know. Right. So that is as far as, like, following your heroes and mentors on social media is concerned. Do that, and you can learn a lot by that. They'll be putting some stuff up, and you can learn out of that. Can be in fact one part of your updating system, that you check what happened. Have they done something new, interesting, like, which you would like to learn? What are the next steps to take after I qualify? Now, this is where you are in a gap stage. Okay, but if you have done all of these things, you have written, you have put your writing up, you have followed these people, you have shared your writing on the social media, you have signed up for competitions. On the whole, you have, like, really been really shined up in your internship. Okay, you have been really extraordinary in your internship, in the sense that you have done all of this. Because like I said, you have that updating system. You got to know, you use it during your daytime. Okay, something happened in the industry sector, you came to know, you used it during your daytime. Okay, and here also I'll remember one thing. I was doing actually my CS training. I've quoted this once before as well, but I would like to say this because it can become useful. And I was doing the minutes. I was managing the records for uh, a company which was a traveling agent, a travel agent. Okay, it was a decent sized travel agent, and we were looking at their things. Okay, and I actually looked at what kind of uh, business happens within a traveling agent. How do they function? Okay, who are they regulated by? And what were the changes during that period for the travel agent? Okay, and I brought that into the documents that I made. Okay, and one of the directors then just gives a call to our firm, and I happen to pick up, and the guy says that, who has done the minutes of this company? And I was like, my god, there's some mistake that happened, I'm in for a soup. And then I told him that, like, it is done by the firm, so I wouldn't say my name because I thought I was really stupid. Okay, so I told him that it is done by the firm, and then he says, no, who in the firm? Like, and he was talking in this tone. I was like, I've definitely done something wrong. But then I had to say the truth to him, so I told him that I have done. So then he says that, you really looked up like the business of the company, which I've not found anywhere. Okay, so when you look at the business, Okay, that is what gets a hit with everybody. It gets a hit with your seniors, it gets a hit with the client. Okay, and what will happen is that even if it doesn't get a hit with your seniors, if it resonates with the client will be very happy with the senior, and then in turn your senior will be very happy with you. So like, being knowing things about the business of the company, okay, and finding out what applies to the business, then you have to like, really look at what is happening in that industrial sector, and that's something that will resonate very well. Yeah, so we're coming to the gap area. What are the next steps to take after I qualify? Now this will become very relevant because you are on the verge of employment. You're not going to be able to, like, this is the time when you need to start gaining or earning something, right? You have qualified and you really want to start making some money and generating some income out of it in some manner, be it like, anything. It may not be really huge, but you really want to start generating some kind of income. So this is your first thing. You have to determine your financial needs. Okay, but you always have to have a broader view than your salary. Okay, so you have to find what is your financial need. Okay, are you in a state where you are support your income is very crucial to the family? You have to earn. Now in this situation, you cannot kind of afford to have, like, a step plan and apply for the employment at the time when it comes. You have to kind of start generating income right away. So you will not have an option but like immediately start freelancing even in a gap period. So then what is the path that you take for that? Okay, in terms of corporate law, and many people take up contract drafting. Okay, and now it's even more in vogue because it doesn't matter where you are sitting in the world, you can still contract draft. Okay, you can do drafting contracts for a lot of different people, doesn't matter where you are. Okay, so you can do that. So you have to determine your financial needs and you will have to plan accordingly. On the other hand, if there isn't any force on you that you have to earn a living and you have to start something, then you can choose that this is where I want to land, and now what is the step plan from here to that place. Okay, so how do I get and how do I make an impression on the hiring manager there? Okay, this is very much possible because I will tell you that in lots of cases the jobs are never advertised. Okay, and what will people do is that people will think that if I have an additional resource with me, if it is possible for them to have an additional resource, so then they will, like, if someone is going to leave, they will have a backup available. So that is also something how employers think, that may like to have someone as an additional resource. So you may even fit in that realm, and in that case you can have afford to have, like, a really detailed step plan that how are you going to reach that place where you want to be. Okay, what is the impact, what is the influence you're going to create to reach that place. But if you have an immediate financial need, it's like, right away you have to start something. Okay, you have to hit something that is right away going to create or generate income for you. But you always have a broader view than your salary. So right now you may be mandated to do anything that comes your hand, but you have a destination in mind. Okay, so you will find so many people who actually generate income and then invest that entirely into additional learning. Okay, because that's not what they want to be doing. They want to be doing something, and for that they are generating, like, resources by their income. So that is, you always have to have a broader view than your salary. So again, like, even when if you're looking at an employment or a job, if you're just looking at salary, and I can tell you this because I have made these mistakes. Okay, and I don't want you to make these mistakes. I had a choice between a listed company, full blown listed company, where, like, there were loads of compliances. It was manufacturing also. So I had, like, the learning would have been incredible. I would have been a pro even in labor laws and everything. I would have been, like, working in all the spheres that is possible. But but what I chose at that time, and this is a mistake I made, and I don't want you to make this mistake. Okay, I chose a private limited company, which was like, just starting out at that particular point of time. And I chose to go into that. Okay, the listed company guys who interviewed me were willing to go a step higher than the salary they could offer just to have me, because they could see that, I will be able to deliver. And I didn't take that. And I took the another one on a very short sighted view of salary, a mistake I made. Okay, and I don't want you should be making. Take something in the early stages of your career which is going to give you maximum exposure, okay, to different things. If I would have taken that role, I would have been like working in all areas possible, right? So this is something, don't look at that. Choose things which will give you really good exposure. Employment or practice, this is like again a dilemma, and again something that I have faced in my life. So I know I have swapped from like, practice on my own to a partnership to an employment, okay, to an employment abroad, to having like becoming a co-founder here. So things like I've gone all the way on all sides, like I've gone everywhere. So employment or practice, you to choose what works. And if you want to change, then you have to decide fast. And this is again a big problem. What happens is that once you take employment and you want to break free and you really want to start out as an independent practitioner on your own, very, very difficult decision, because people cannot leave the security of employment. They find it very difficult to leave the security. Okay, at a later stage, it will begin to be even more difficult. So if you are in early stages of your career, do that. Like, take the change, take the plunge, take a risk. Okay, while you still can take the risk, because it's like you may have to earn money for yourself, but you don't have a lot of people dependent on you. Okay, later stage when you start to have a family and all of that, it will become even more difficult to give up employment. Very, very difficult. So if you want to change and take the plunge, do it very early in your career. Even if you want to switch from practice to employment, I did that. Okay, then, but do that like very early stages in your career, while you can take that risk, while you still have time. uh, what can give us maximum exposure before entering into a corporate in terms of position? uh, I want legal task immediately during corona, suffering a lot. Guys, you can reach out to me. I will speak with all of you. Okay, we can plan out a time when we can speak. Okay, how to go abroad if you're doing corporate law, we have a separate session on that. Okay, we will talk about that. So just reach out to me when you do that. Okay, so this is again very difficult to choose, because people believe they are fit for certain things, people believe they are fit for something other. Okay, so you have to choose. But and most people that I talk to do know whether they want to get into a job or whether they want to get into practice. Most people know. So they may not be doing that right now, but they know. Okay. WhatsApp group number I will share. I'll share. Okay. Take up multiple things. Writing and teaching can be very helpful. I remember when I was starting out, like after kind of, qualifying, I took up teaching at the oral coaching centers of ICSI. So I was like kind of teaching corporate law to people who were far elder than me. I could see people who were employees of different companies, government organizations, and all sitting right down there in the crowd in a huge class. Okay, and I'm teaching them, and it was really challenging. Okay, because what will happen in these kinds of things is you are right there, and your brain will be kicked into a really hyperdrive. Okay, because you are in a situation where you really need all the resources, and you want to find answers about it really fast. Okay, so you take up multiple things, and like, you start using that, because it will help to put, all the resources of your brain active at the same time. Do law firms hire new lawyers for litigation staff? Are the salaries good? You have to research this out. It is not difficult. Use things like Glassdoor. Have you heard of Glassdoor? Google what is Glassdoor, find it out. Okay. Loads of information available on your fingertips. You should research. Start a blog if you want to discipline yourself into writing, or you can use 1000 words apps. Take a course if need be on how to use social media. Social media can, I'm telling you, like, I have someone in my team who's never applied for jobs. She got employment through LinkedIn. That's it. Everywhere, all the period of time. So you I mean, use social media, leverage the power of it to the maximum. Okay, and you can score, you can generate clients, you can get jobs, get internships. Okay, I have a student who did really fantastic videos. Okay, he just started an internship and the kind of work he is getting is incredible. So you're like, you do this, you use the power of social media. And you may not be knowing. I also didn't know. I didn't know how to use social media powerfully, but then there are people who teach that. So you, like, learn that. What's missing, you learn it. Okay. 1 to 1.5 lakhs in a corporate law firm. We have talked about that was the kind of work that you should do. What should I do at my job to ensure that I progress very quickly? We are already at 7, so let's just browse through this. There are a few things that are very, very important, and I've written about this like even before. Never deny work coming your way. In fact, you buy work wherever is possible. Okay, now many people will say, I'll get overworked, like I will not be able to sleep, I'll not be able to eat. Lots of different things people will say. But this is the first principle. Never, never deny work coming your way. Someone is say, who wants to do this? You will be the first to say, I want to do it. Okay. But instead, you should ask how to prioritize. Okay. The management is not mad. They are not crazy. Okay. They are not going to give you work which is physically impossible for you to do. Okay. So you will say, I will do the work. But look, I have these 1, 2 things. Okay. So tell me how I will prioritize between these 1, 2, 3. Okay. And I will do the work accordingly. So you never deny work, but you should ask, how should you prioritize? Which one should you prioritize? You can't hit all of the things at the same time. Okay, so you will say, I'm going to take it. I will take it. I will do it. But tell me how to prioritize this and I will work accordingly. Okay, so managements are sensible. They will know how to work, or they will give you work according to the plan. But if you are constantly seen as buying work, your work sphere will be broader. Then they will say, after that, they will say, look, you've been taking in a lot of work. Here's a junior to assist you. This is how it will develop. But if you say that, how can I do this? I am overworked. I'm not able to do. Then you will not go from one level to another. Okay. When you take on the work and you say, how should I prioritize? They will give you resources. They'll say, okay, take this person to help you. Okay, take this many hours that this person will work with you. They will allocate resources. They are sensible. They're not mad. Like, they're not going to give you things which are physically impossible for you to do. But if you buy work and you ask how you should prioritize that, then that's something that's going to work. Okay. Guys, lots of courses. Questions are related to courses. We are talking about really essential trades here. Please focus on this. We will talk about everything else later. Lots of people are raising hands. Master's degree, what is the role of evidence law in financial career? Writing can be helpful. Many questions. Guys, let's restrict it to these trades. Okay, then I'll open it up for questions. We have another webinar anyway. So think of possible solutions when you approach your seniors. Now, this is another thing. Like, you realize you have screwed up. You have made a mistake. Okay. So most people, what will they do? They'll try to hide it. Don't try to hide it. Okay. Go right away to your senior and say that I've made a mistake. But now I am thinking that this is how it can be cured. Okay, I have researched and found out how it can be cured, and this is how I think that. Okay, or even if there are problems anywhere that you face, think of what is a possible solution and you go with that to your senior. Okay, and you propose. It may not be valid solutions, but they will realize that you are trying to think of it. You're trying to think of a solution, okay, to an existing issue, which is stepping beyond and moving forward from that problem. You're not being stuck at that problem, you're moving forward and you're thinking of how do we solve this now. Okay, so move every time with possible solutions. Okay, these are the ways where you are going to really shine out and differentiate yourself in your job. Okay, you're doing these things, you will be very different. You will look very different right away from the other people. Okay, what are the questions here? Senior associates may even shout because they don't have time to teach us. That is okay. Let them shout. Okay, but if you hide it, it will be even worse. Okay, because then it will blow into a bigger problem and more shouting and maybe even kicking out. While it's in a bad problem or an initial stage, make it known and go with a solution. That's much better. And then tell them that. Tell them exactly that. That I did not want to hide it and grow it into a bigger problem. That's why I've come to you. I understand I've made a mistake. I understand you maybe agree, you may shout on me. But then I thought that if I don't do this, it will blow into a bigger problem. So I've come and I'm thinking that this will be the solution. And see the impact at that time. Okay? It's not going to be crazy because you're thinking. Okay? Ask questions and clarify where you are not clear. Don't assume things. Very, very important. Like, people are very scared to ask questions because there are people who can shout, they can think you are dumb. It's okay. Okay? So they let you irritate again if you're a stubborn learner. Yeah. Like they will say that, okay, they ask questions and clarify. And tell them why you were doing that. Man, like tell them that I did not want to assume. I did not want this to blow up. And that's the reason I've come to you. Okay. So you tell them flat to that I didn't want this to happen. That's why I came. Now I know I'm a mistake. I know you will be angry. Tell them right that I know you're going to be angry. But then I did not want it to blow up. Okay. Focus on completing the work. Find out where it ends for the organization. So your box may end at one place, but find out the whole chain from your place. Where does it go to? Then where does it go to? Then when does it lend to the client ultimately? You find the whole chain of work. That's where you get a very clear idea of where your work fits in into the organization. Okay, and so now, because this you will think very much forward. You will think that what is the next person going to look at now? Okay, and what is the third person going to look at? And you work from that angle. The other two people will say that I want to work with this guy. I don't want to work with other ones because he's thinking about my work and he's thinking about the next person's work also. So find out where it ends for the organization. I asked many people, they were like, there is no such corporate culture here. So how to start? Because I'm feeling like stuck. Small town, this is a big problem. Like people believe that small town, I can't do anything. Guys, you are living, this is like, no, they can't have been a better time for small town people. Cannot be a better time. And I'll tell you why. Your cost of living remains the same. But your market now is India and abroad. That's because people are exposed to remote working. So just think of it, like Ramanuj was describing that day. Someone sitting in Baroda earning 20 lakhs. That's like making 50 lakhs in Bombay because the cost of living is like that. Okay, but naturally someone will prefer the guy who's giving the same work at a lesser cost. You can afford to do it at a lesser cost because your cost of living is much lower than the one sitting in Mumbai and Delhi. Their cost of living is much higher. Okay. So use that to your advantage. No scope for corporate law. Depends on what you define as corporate law. Okay. Start investing. This is a gem of an advice. Okay, you get your beginning your first 5,000, 10,000 rupees. If you're not a dead earner, invest this. Okay, make a big like research in something in a company and invest it. I don't know, you can lose it, doesn't matter. But because of that, what will happen is now from the next day you will start tracking what is this company doing, what are the news about it, what is its price, okay, how is it moving, how did the price change because of this transaction. Suddenly you will start linking because you are a stakeholder now. You weren't a stakeholder, you were looking from the side, but now you're a stakeholder. You're gonna use that. Okay, start investing. It will like grow your sphere to anything. Can I set up my own practice in a corporate law? This is something very much relevant for people who are saying I'm small town, no scope for corporate law. I can tell you that like I've worked on transactions where in my life I've never met my clients. I've not met them ever. I did the work for them and I didn't meet them. It's so much of a power of remote work. And sitting here, you are incorporating, registering companies in different areas of the country. You are providing advice certificates to different areas like anywhere in the country. Remote work has made all of this possible. So there are no regional restrictions anymore. You have to find out how to access people and how to access clients. And not everyone wants to go to the big law in Mumbai and Delhi, particularly now, because they have access to people across the country, okay, who can do that same work at a much cheaper cost. So I began with a practice of my own. Now, from my own experience, again, I can tell you that it's not impossible to earn well, but it will work only if you are a total go-getter and you leave no stone unturned. If you're going to sit in your office staring at a computer all day, waiting for the clients to come, it's not going to happen. Okay, you will have to be out there talking to people, making connections, even sitting on the computer also making connections. Okay, finding out things, researching out things, making yourself visible, signing up for competitions, joining committees, different committees where, like, in your college or in your some association, you are creating an alumni group, you're doing a lot of activities. Okay, if you leave no stone unturned, you'll fill every hour with some work that you're doing to add to your practice. Then it will work. I started investing 9 months ago, and within 9 months, I've gone through 1,000 plus balance sheet. Now I'm earning a very good amount from investing. Can this knowledge help me in legal field? Okay, no, but like I mean, you now you've started to go. There is a buyback that is happening. What happened to the share price then? Okay, it clicks immediately to you. So when you're working in corporate law on some transaction like that, this is what is going to happen. Okay, so you can link your experience to that. Okay, so you're tracking it. You're tracking, so then right? Okay, you can start working with a senior to get the hang of the things, but doesn't mean you should continue if you're not growing. Okay, you have to decide. Okay, that am I saturated here and this is all I could do now, and there is nothing more that's going to happen anymore, then it's time to move on. You have to understand that it's time to move on and you have to act. Okay, you can't just keep under the shadow for the whole of the life. It's crucial that you know how to reach out and create and develop relationships wherever you are practicing. Unless you know how to do this, I'm sorry, but it's very difficult to succeed if you're solo practicing. Impossible, okay, if I'll put it that way, unless you know how to reach out and create and develop relationships. Be ready to take what comes at you, and in that task, leave the client in a situation where almost nothing needs to be done by him. So I always used to say, my mentor will come, and then he'll say that you have to चबा के देना है, सीधा खाली उतारना बाकी रहना चाहिए. That's how you give things to a client. Okay, everything complete, finished, in a file, decently arranged, indexed. Okay, even in a computer file, decently arranged. Okay, indexed, everything clearly visible. If he opens it, he doesn't have to apply his mind and he'll be able to find what he wants to. That's the kind of work you give. Okay. And it's impossible he's going to go to someone else. Like, think the ease with which you were providing, he'll come to you. Be on the lookout to team up. Team ups always work better than definitely single people. I've seen two people firms really doing much better than they would have done if they were both working individually. Above all, if corporate law is your passion, then you will not need any prompting, and curiosity will take the better of you. This is something that's very essential. You get curious. Okay, then suddenly you are like, I get these curiosities all the time in the midst of the class. Okay, and I let it out. There are questions that I put into the class when I am doing with the courses of LawSikho. I put the questions out right there. Okay, and the questions that I think of it as a curiosity and I don't know the answer of, I put it right there to the students, and we get together and we try to find out answers. Okay, so curiosity will take the better of you, that how the heck did this happen? What happened here? Okay, where did it get stuck? What exactly is the problem here? Things will, like, you will be curious, and unless you've actually found out that answer to it, you will not rest. So when that happens, you will start to get the hang of things. Just don't become Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, no, but when you have stake, you start tracking things. That's my point. Yeah, so these are the webinars that we're going to do. Someone talked about working abroad. We have that on 14th. Working with a MNC in India, we have it on 15th. And how do I become a corporate lawyer in India if I did not graduate from an NLU? Ramanuj has written a whole book on it, but we're going to talk about this. Okay, lots of people feel that NLU is a problem. It's a silly question, but is there any way to gain practical knowledge other than internships? And I did that. I did this experiment. Okay. So, like I said, you have to think in the form of a case study or a simulation. Put yourself in the businessman's shoes. I want to start a business. What are the things that I need? I want to attract FDI. What will I need? Okay. And then you find out things like that. Okay, this is actually the basis of the simulation exercises that we do in LawSikho. Okay, so there'll be loads of people whom you speak to who have faced certain issues, problems. Okay, so you bring those things, okay, into a case study and you put them and you actually try to apply yourself. I had an intern who was there with me for a month, and I told him that either I can make you write articles for the whole month, okay, or otherwise you think that you are creating an Indian company which is a subsidiary of a foreign company. Now you're going to find out everything. Even call out a few people who are giving DSCs and ask what they charge. Okay, this is the research. Okay, this is what you're doing. Okay, so you call out people, you ask them what they charge. What is the cost? If I want to have a common seal, what is the cost? If I want to get my shares dematerialized, what is the cost? No problem, I'll call up, I'll ring up people and ask. Okay, so he did that and he really enjoyed that. Like, he made a dummy thing, he made a dummy company everywhere, and he made dummy everything, like everything dummy he created. So you do that, that's the closest you can get to the actual thing, because you put yourself in that situation and you have worked it out. Okay, what if we are not up to the level of our colleagues in the company? They might know much more than us. How should we cope up? Don't compare and think of what you want to know and you want to get and you want to find out. Okay, and you will even reach out to them and find out that how are they working the things. Befriend them. So what, they know more than you, it's very much good, because you found someone who knows better, so now you know where to get the knowledge from. Okay, brilliant. Okay, I think I can answer the quiz. We are already overshot our time, guys. Trying to become something, lol. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, when you become, you don't look at, like, becoming better than the colleagues. Okay, they know something, so fine, it's very good. Like, you get it from them. Put yourself out in the open, make you vulnerable. Say, I don't know this, and I'm amazed that you know. Okay, why don't you teach me something like that? So approach people, ask them. Okay, now the next one here is the WhatsApp group that people are looking for. Let me put it in the chat for all of you guys. Okay, you can join here. Did it come? Yeah, it came twice. Here is the WhatsApp group and I'm right here. Okay, so you can tag me and you can reach out if you have questions. You can reach out to me. Okay, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have questions. We'll do that. In corporate law, which work do we find the most as an intern? Contract drafting or investment banking laws, mergers, acquisitions? Like I'm interested in both of them. So, like I said, if you read, the email, it's full. It's full. Wow. When did that happen? Wait, let me get you the other one. Let me get you the link for the other. Wow. Okay, let me get you this group link. I didn't know it wasn't full when I put it up. Try this one. Try this one. Okay, you should be able to join this one. This one is unlikely to be full. Tell me if you could join, guys, quickly because we need to end. There's another webinar starting. Join. Everyone able to join this group? Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, guys, thank you so much for. I know there are loads of questions I wasn't able to answer, but like reach out. We have a webinar that's starting right next after this, so reach out and we can interact on that group. Thank you so much, guys, for being there. I really love talking to all of you. Bye, 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 everyone.